Well, it's unclear, and the nationality is very unclear from the images that you see. This particular device is very common in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and I will say that the Al-Qaeda playbook is usually to hit sporting events. You reread this all the time: sporting events, mass casualty, spectacular, right? So it really, this marathon bombing kind of plays into the Al-Qaeda playbook, so I would not discount. Again, as I've said throughout your programs, we still, at this point, really don't know if this is a foreign or a domestic terror plot.
And our thanks to the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Call. And by putting out these pictures and videos, investigators are hoping that someone somewhere is going to recognize one of these two individuals or locate them in a picture that they also took during the marathon. Our Tom Foreman has been watching the video over and over again, like you have, like we have, but he's been blowing it up, able to go in pixel by pixel. And Tom, what have you learned?
Yeah, and you know something, Aaron? That's exactly what the FBI wants you to do. They want everyone to watch it again and again and see what you can figure out. Let's roll it and show you the actual sequence of it. This is where they come around the corner. There's suspect number 1, suspect number 2. These shots overlap a little bit. They cover in all about 50 feet of walking as they go down this way. There's the second shot in the sequence. You see them coming this way. You see the woman with the orange or the green bag down here. That's how you know it's the same direction. Then they continue this way, and then there's a shot from behind as they go away. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context here so people can understand exactly where this all is. The running street is right over here. This is the direction they're coming. So I'm going to let this cycle back around so you see them coming toward us again. And we're going to stop this for a moment. This is suspect number 1, suspect number 2 here. This is the street. So the race is up here going this direction. These gentlemen are coming around, and they are headed in a direction that is generally from the west to the east. They're also in the right sequence. If this is number 1, he is currently associated by the FBI with the first bomb. If this is number 2, he's associated with the second bomb. And those bombs were on the route in this order. If he is in fact the person who is responsible for the bomb nearest the finish line, he had about 3 blocks to walk from this position. If he is the person who's responsible for the second one, he had about 1.5 blocks to walk. And look at this right down here. The timestamp tells us that all of this is happening around 12 to 12.5 minutes before the bombs actually go off. So that's one of the things that people are looking at. One of the other things that's being considered by authorities out there is simply this. Look at the shape of the backpacks and the size of the backpacks. If we go with this notion that authorities say they have found parts of this, this pressure cooker and where it might be, if you outline the bag where you can see it clearly, yeah, that's big enough to hold something. And I'll move it down the way here just so you can see what we're talking about. If we move down here, this is one of the packs that they believe they found that contained one of these explosives. Look at the color is generally black. That's what we've talked about. And this is part of one of the pressure cookers. You can see the size of the glove here so you get a sense of scale. Important to note here as well as we move back here, this pack is generally black. If I move the video on, though, you can see that with this second pack here, and this is kind of interesting, that pack is not black. We really haven't heard that much about the second bomb. When we've talked about the pieces of the bombs, we've heard a great deal more about what happened with the bomb near the finish line, not so much the second one that was further away. And as you can see right there, Aaron, I'm stopping it so you get a good look at it. That's where you can see that this pack really is much more of a light gray or a white color, whereas the one up ahead here, this is the one that is black. So, Aaron, it's just context. It doesn't necessarily tell us a whole lot, but you're absolutely right. When you say you just want to watch it and watch it again, this is what the FBI wants people to do. Watch this and look at the individual pictures of these people and see if somehow in doing that you can spot somebody or something that will help them make an arrest. Aaron?
All right, Tom, thanks very much to you. And, you know, the images that the FBI released earlier this evening could also lead to fresh clues about the suspects. And not just because investigators are getting a first look at their faces, but, well, there's other things that they're looking for, too. I'm joined live here in Boston by Deb Farrick. And, Deb, you know, you have this understanding now talking to investigators of that they're looking at every single step that these two people took all the way down the road.
Absolutely. And to give a little more perspective on how this all played out, what we do know, I've spoken to a number of analysts, and here's the premise that they're working on. Those two men were headed down in the path towards the finish line. They were just about 8 feet apart. They had practiced this route multiple times. They knew exactly where they were going. They knew exactly how much time they had in between the various stops. Think about this. These men are carrying explosives. They're carrying bombs on their backs, and yet they don't look nervous, not in the least. And that's why investigators do believe that, in fact, they had rehearsed this, they had practiced this route many, many times. So the two men are walking in the direction of the finish line. Now, the man in the black hat, he keeps walking. That is his destination. It is the finish line. The man in the white hat, he stops at an earlier point. There's a distinctive picture of him looking down back towards the racers. He has the second device. The man in the black hat, he keeps walking. They know exactly how much time they have between point 1 and point 2. It's about 3 minutes, according to analysts that I spoke with. They are using, according to investigators, some sort of a device, a detonation device, and that's what's key. In many of these bombs incidents we've seen, it's the initiator, it's the detonator that always seems to fail, and that's why investigators believe they did do a dry run someplace, and that's one of the things they're looking at. So you've got the man in the white hat who is south of the finish line, the man in the black hat who is at the finish line. That bomb goes off. That is the bomb at the finish line that kills the two women. It is the bomb the bomb that's further south down the route that kills the little boy and injures those folks. That dramatic picture of the man you see with his legs blown off. Investigators are working on the assumption, Aaron, that basically the two men, they didn't cross over the route. What they did is once they distanced themselves and detonated the devices, then they turned and began walking away to parallel roads, either Newberry Street or Commonwealth. Investigators now looking, for example, at videos of subways, videos of buses, even tolls.
Their escape route then was very planned.
They knew where they were going, they knew how to get in, and they knew how to get out. And the question is, did anyone help them? And that is a big point of investigation.
Yes.
Those cell phones, they may have been used to detonate the device. Right now, analysts are working on the premise that it may have been something more like a model plane detonator.
Right.
But those cell phones, look, could have been used to communicate with one another as well, to communicate with a third individual.
Right.
All of that they're looking at. And what kind of cell phones are most interested? The kinds of cell phones that don't leave a record, those that are disposable. So all of this is under investigation. This is so active, but that's what we know right now, that the man in the black hat, he kept walking. The man in the white hat, he stopped south. They knew the timing. They walked away, detonated almost simultaneously, and then they were gone. They disappeared.
Well, all right, Deb, thank you very much. And as Deb says, this is incredibly active and changing minute by minute. But a big question now is, the shock tonight was when we found out it was not a lone wolf, that there were two. As you just heard the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee say, are there more? Is there a conspiracy? A big question as they try to find these men and try to find everyone responsible. Still to come live tonight, we take you to the site of a massive explosion in Texas, the fertilizer plant, in which, unfortunately, people have died. Emergency workers are working nonstop to try to save the possible survivors, even though emergency workers themselves are among the fallen. Plus, more of our coverage of the Boston bombing investigation, what investigators are learning from the video of the two possible suspects. We'll be back live from Boston in a moment.